So, as you meditate and as you focus in, you find yourself in the skies above what looks to be a city shrouded in mist. Now, the picture you have on the screen, this generation gets pretty close to the feel if it's not perfect in a couple of aspects. But this idea of these buildings that are dark and shrouded, this heavy layer of mist everywhere, this sort of amorphous area that's not in the lights. And on this picture, the lights kind of make alleyways, right? That the lights are all connected. But if you basically take this concept, this picture right here, and you space out the lights, and you have huge sections of the city that are just in total darkness, and you just have these little pinpoints of lights spread around the city that you can see from above. And as you're looking down below you, you can see that certain areas look more distinct, even within the lights themselves, and certain areas look more shrouded in the darkness and mist. And down in the city, you can see that there is one building that looks like it's a little bit more solid, a little bit more stable than some of the other things that you can see. Now, we're going to kind of be starting you above the city in this sort of, disembodied thing. What is Filibuster's initial reaction to sort of uh, feeling like himself phasing into being in this strange place?
Uh, do, do I feel like I'm falling?
No, you feel like you're just floating, but it doesn't even feel like you're floating or flying. It more feels like you're standing at the edge of a high window looking down. Where you are feels very stable, but you also get the impression that you could go down there if you wanted.
Mm. Is there, and I messaged you this before, but I feel like my first reaction would be to be like, uh, hello?
Yeah, and you say hello, and the sound carries sort of oddly. You get the impression that it goes a lot further than just saying it in a normal voice, but nothing reacts to you.
And the lights are in the distance. I can't interact with them at all.
You can. Basically, you're looking down from on high, and you get the impression that if you wanted to, you could just go into the city.
Sure. Let's do that.
So from here, there's like a big area of darkness that's just all shrouded in mist. There are a couple of things that look like they're not that they're hazy, right? That there is these little pinpoints of light, but there is still mist. There's no darkness in that haze, but there's mist that is shrouding that area. And then there's one place that looks like it doesn't have either darkness or mist. It just looks like a little house. Would you focus more on the darkness, on the sort of in between stuff, or on the one place that looks a little bit more solid?
Well, well, the first question I have is, as I get closer, do I recognize any of this?
Could you put your token on the map for me, please?
Yeah.
Don't believe you are trained, so let me do untrained. So you don't recognize the place, but the problem is that even though you've seen a couple places from your ship from above, so that idea of the aerial view to you is a little bit more common now. It's a little bit more understandable than it would have been before you had an airship. Um, the fact that the vast majority of the city, something like 90+% of the city, is shrouded in mist and darkness, means that it seems like it's a bigger place, but you need more pieces to the puzzle to try to connect this to anything you might know, and nothing looks like it stands out, at least right now.
Mhm. And then you said if I had the option to focus on a few things.
Yeah, it looks like there's basically it's divided more or less into three sections. You have the vast majority of the area is that shrouded in darkness. Then you have a couple of the lights that you can see that are not dark, but they still have that mist on them and they look sort of hazy. And then you have one place that looks like it neither has darkness or mist. It looks like it's just a solid building, like a house that you would expect to see not in this sort of quasi dream world that you're in.
I think I'd like to glance at the mist. I don't think I'm interested in the darkness.
Okay. So when you're saying at the mist, is that in where the little lights are, or are you going to kind of go to the edge of the light to just look at the mist itself?
Go to the edge. I don't think it's necessarily important, but I'm interested.
So as you get close, and especially around the edges of where the sort of light is shed, you can see that the mist is not only kind of clinging to everything, like a very heavy mist that is laying on the ground, but in the places where you can see like buildings and stuff, the mist seems to be going through the solid objects, through the buildings, and there are areas where the mist is rising and falling, going through the ground and coming back up. It very much doesn't act like normal mist, but you get the feeling from the mist itself that there is like a that it's more like a creature, like an entity, than it is like a meteorological effect.
Mm-hmm. And you're describing it almost like clipping through the like, and to use like a video game term, like clipping through walls and stuff.
Yeah, one of
Right.
the reasons that I like this generation so much is if you can look up here in this part
Mm-hmm.
of the map, do you see how the mist kind of is not functioning quite like mist here, where it looks like it's kind of going like flowing down into this courtyard, but
Yeah.
it's like going up and down and kind of then going over the wall like it's like a wave of water. And in some places you can see it's doing that, but you can also see it's like going through the water in some places, or through the wall in some places, where it does seem
Mm-hmm.
to be a little bit more pervasive or phasing than it should be. Like, use the word clipping, and that's fine. That is kind of what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with a lot of things that look like they're clipping into things, there is this sense that like it makes things look not real. Like there's no weight to anything when something's clipping in games terms.
Yeah.
In this, it more seems like the mist feels like it has a lot of weight and is very solid, but everything else doesn't. Like the wall feels like it is somewhat immaterial, but the mist itself is material.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay, let's go look at the house.
Okay. So you head over to the house, and once you get close to it, there is this sort of assault on your senses. The idea that everything here thus far has been pretty much purely visual gets sort of knocked aside by having smells and sounds and the feeling of a place that fills you as you step onto what looks to be like a wooden dock. And the dock goes right up to the building. The building itself looks like it's built onto a dock or onto like supports that go down into the water. You can see there's a main building, and then there's two little small buildings built off to the side of it that are connected to it. One of which looks like it's probably an outhouse, and then the other one looks like it's maybe like a workshop or something. It's built of materials that would make you think more like a shed than a cottage. But the cottage itself kind of creaks. You can hear the lapping of the waves underneath your feet, and this whole thing gives you this sense of a place that is lived, a place that you can smell things that are not quite off. Like, it's hard to kind of pinpoint exactly what it is. It isn't something that is wrong, but like if you've walked into someone's house that you've never met before, every home has its own sort of unique caricature of scent, and that's what this place does. This has a sort of unique scent of some place that's lived, which feels like a strong contrast to everything else from in the surrounding area.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It's
in
like a
front of
little
you
one
is the
roomer,
building. The door is
basically.
shut. Huh?
It's a little one roomer, basically.
It looks like it would be like one very large room. It might be
Mm-hmm.
broken up into other pieces, but it'd be pretty small. You suspect that probably the two sort of haphazardly built shacks that are attached to the side of it were how they added a little bit more space to it. But it's probably only one big room on the inside.
Okay. You were saying something.
No, I was just saying, in front of you there is a kind of a well-worn old wooden door. It is currently shut.
Can I hear anything?
Um,
You mentioned water, but like in
Yeah,
from the house.
you can hear the water. You don't hear anything coming from the house, but at the same time, it is, assuming that this world follows the rules of the normal world, it looks like it's a pretty sturdy built house. It's built right on the water's edge. From experience in this world that anything built right by the water tends to be either very, very temporary or very sturdy. And this building looks like it's kind of the latter.
And do I feel drawn to the house at all?
You don't feel like you're drawn to the house, especially other than the fact that feels interesting. Like, you're not sure what this place is. There's probably that latent curiosity of your character, but there's no like supernatural effect that is drawing you in here.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I will say that if you think about that, like, do you think about like, okay, is there some sort of effect happening here? You'll notice that there is the lack of something. Since you've come into this place and as you've been going around, there's always this sort of background noise from Baneslayer, even if it's not trying to talk to you. It's oftentimes, trying to nudge your emotions or nudge your mentality in a certain direction. That isn't here. The Baneslayer is silent at your side. It's still there, but it's just quiet.
Can I attempt to knock on the door?
You do. Go up, knock on the door. It feels solid and sturdy. And you hear someone call through the door, but you don't hear what they say.
Can I say hello back again? Even if I don't understand what they're saying.
So you say hello, and when you say hello, you can almost feel your voice carry. And while just saying hello in a normal voice, this sort of heavy wooden door, you heard whoever's on the other side, heard the knock, and they said something back, and you didn't understand it. It was muffled by the door. When you speak and you say hello, you very much get the impression that your words carried through the door and into the house completely unimpeded. Like the wall wasn't there. When you said hello, it went all the way through. And then you hear after a second a much sort of louder voice. So it's been yelled this time, and you can sort of hear it through the door as sounds like an old woman's voice says, "Come in, come in."
Okay. Can I open the door?
So you open the door. The door kind of creaks very slightly and has a heavy sense of weight to it. And you can see that the door is actually pretty thick. It's like 8 inches thick. And you can see little seals on the side of it where it's probably designed to be like shut and stage shut, maybe for like storm shelter or something like that. Again, it is right on the waterway, and you're not sure exactly what kind of water is here. But one of the smells that you can smell, especially stronger on the inside, is the smell of salt. So it is probably on a sea or an ocean somewhere.
Yeah. And what size door is this? Is this like a human? What size race size door is this?
It looks like a roughly human-sized door.
Okay.
So you open and go inside. It is not a difficult door to open, even for you, even though you're not human-sized. And as you open the door, you see the inside of this room. And when you walk in, when you go inside, it is one single room, and you can see the 2 doors leading off to the little outhouse that's attached, and to presumably like a shed or something. There's no one in the room right now, and this room is completely packed with stuff, but it looks fairly well organized. There's nets and things hanging from the walls. You see several fishing rods. There are pails that are hanging in the corners up in the tops, kind of where other people would put maybe like potted plants or hanging plants hanging off the rafters. You can also see that against several of the walls, there are these folded tables and chairs, very small tables, like a sort of like a TV dinner table, as well as several chairs that are there. And looking around the room, if all of the tables and chairs were off, if all the chairs were off of the wall and the ones that are on this that are kind of strapped to the ceiling were all down, there would be almost no room to move around at all. They have almost seemingly too much stuff here. But other than that, there's no other furniture in the room. The room is fairly open. It has a big, heavy rug. And then on the far side, has a big, heavy wood-burning stove. that looks like it would provide plenty of heat for this whole little area. The windows on the sides look like they are easily shuttered and have that same sort of latching mechanism that you can see with the door, where they could be closed and then shuttered shut in case there's a squall or something like that. But everything in this room gives you the feel of stuff that's not particularly expensively made, but stuff that has been handcrafted, has been, everything in this room looks like it's been made by someone who either lives here or is around here, or, is made by someone that, the person who lives here would know their first name, would know their story, would know something about them. And everything in the room has this like quiet hum of age as well. Something that feels like even the young things in the room feel like they're a decade old, with one major exception. Right next to the wood burning stove, there is something that you've seen a couple of times, and seeing it next to the stove lets you know immediately where you are. There is a ship. Now, the ship is a traditional two-masted ship, and it doesn't really look like anything like your ship, but the masts show a sign of an orange holding a fruit with a chain that's broken around the wrist. You can see in that little place, there are a bunch of things that have been laid out, offerings to that shrine. And on the deck of the ship, you see, again, not expensively made, but well made little figurines. And as you enter the room, you'd be able to recognize yourself and the others of the group on this little replica ship. Now, I say your character knows where you are. Do you remember where you are?
We're at the hard home.
Yes, you are in Hardhome. And as you enter and you kind of see this little shrine, you hear the woman's voice from the other room, now only through one door instead of two, say, if you get water in my house, I'll bring you.
Who?
Yivak.
Yuak?
Yivak is what he says.
Oh, Yivak. Okay. She doesn't appear to see me.
She's in the other room. So she's you have the outhouse and then you have the little shed. The person is pretty clearly in the shed, and you've walked into the main room, and she is now in the shed. So there's only one sort of flimsy door between the two of you. And she's called out to say that, Yvette, you better not bring water into my house.
And there's no one else.
There's no one else in here.
I'm not certain who that is, but I didn't mean to make a mess when I came in. I'm sorry if I did.
So
hopefully it doesn't burst out.
you have a moment where you can hear shuffling from the other room, and then the door opens and you see an old woman with a net. Now, her features are a little bit more orcish than what you can see on here. These are more goblinish features. But she has this sort of net that she's clearly working on, not done with, has made just the initial knots to it. The framework is there and looks like it's going to get filled in. And she has it wrapped around one of her arms. Her clothing is bright colors, just like it is on the picture. You can see that there's several things that are wrapped around her. Now, when you see her, she looks like, or has the same sort of color motifs of someone that you've met before. Then the DM is going to ask, Michael, do you remember who wore these sort of bright colors in Hardhome? If you don't, that's fine. I know it's been a long time.
Is it? Oh gosh. It would have either been there was a lady that we rode with to a party or something, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember their name.
Yes, so she's one of the runners. She basically is the people that you hired your crew from.
Yes.
So she has her thing looks in the same sort of color pattern, although it's clearly not the same thing as what she's wearing. The same sort of color pattern is as on the woman that you bought your crew from. And she looks up and sees, and you see her frown as you're kind of standing there. And a strange thing sort of passes over you. You feel like your body exudes mist for a moment. there is this sort of super realness that ebbs from your body and flows around you. And you see the image of a wealthy orc man, looks like an orc noble, is standing more or less in your place. And you get the strong impression that this woman isn't seeing you, it's seeing her. Or sorry, she is seeing it. She's seeing the image of the orc noble when she looks at you.
Yeah.
So
Does she say anything? Okay. Yeah.
she just scowls and then is busy kind of wrapping the net, the half finished net, around one of her arms.
She just looks down.
She just frowns at you, but she's frowning sort of where your face would be if you were, 2 feet taller.
Probably more than that, to be honest. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to impede.
Well, if you're coming down all the way from the city, I imagine you're here with some kind of news. She kind of gives a look up and look down. And given you've made your way all the way down here to the docks, I imagine the news isn't good. So give me a moment. She kind of hobbles into the room, grabs hold of one of the seats that looks like it's very frequently taken off from the wall, and then sets down a little stool for her to sit on. She settles down into it creakily and says, "You're not here to get the net, and it's not done yet by any means. But someone that looks like you only comes to bring bad news. Go ahead, bring the bad news, boy."
I'm actually not really sure why I'm here. Can I help you fix your net? Or I guess make it.
She laughs and goes, "A noble boy didn't come down here to help an old woman make a net. If you're here for my grandson, he comes down sometimes, but less these days, now that he's gotten so much attention. If you're trying to pull something on me," she gestures around the room, "everything in here is cheap, easy to remake. Steal what you need, do what you want, but," she shrugs, "I've got nothing of value on me anymore." And she kind of slowly, as you're talking, is sort of unwinding the net from her arm and very kind of going through this methodical motion of tying the knot, moving the net down, moving the rope down a little bit, tying a knot, moving the rope down. Her hands, like you can see in the picture, are kind of old and gnarled, kind of almost like claws, so twisted with arthritis. But that motion that she's doing, where she's making the net or making the knots, looks like it's practice. She doesn't struggle with this particular motion at all.
Mm-hmm. Well, I I don't need for anything, and I think the this house is full of exactly what it should be in a lot of ways. Uh, what are all these chairs for?
She continues doing the motion, so she's continue making knots as she looks around the room. Chairs. My husband made a chair for each kid that was born, and then they kept coming, and he kept making them. He passed a while back, the whip of 51. But before he passed, she kind of gestures around, we filled these walls like we filled the house. 5 boys I had, 5 strong boys. 5 boys that, no matter how much I tried to knock it into them, they didn't really get their father's gentleness. But good kids, I guess they do be. But then they went on and had their own lives, and they do be having kids of their own. They bring them back, and another chair be made. Truth be told, if all of them came to visit at once, I don't think I'd be able to walk in the room, but it'd be a good sight to see. A good sight to see. You can see as she's smiling at the walls, her face is sort of changing and melding. she goes from this sort of ancient looking woman to looking still old but vibrant as she's looking around, and you can see in her eyes each of the stools on the wall represents a person, a loved one, someone that she cares about. You can see there's a softness that enters her face, and kind of like when you were looking at Clotho, there is this image of a different woman that's there. Although with her, you can tell this isn't a different woman. This is just her. But when she was slightly different, maybe slightly younger.
Hmm. Uh, and this ship you got over here, this little toy boat. I've seen these around. What is that?
Now, if you're going to be one of those men that says I've turned my eyes too quickly, I'll tell you to get the hell right out of here. My boys can be here in just a moment. If I yell my yell, they'll come a running if you look to take that from here. I've heard tell of people who do be wandering around these parts that be taking these things down, but let it be known that this house became a house that was loyal to that one come Banner Day, and Banner Day will be a day to be celebrated in this family. It do be part of our heart now. I can tell you it's no fake thing they be. They be truth, because they be the ones that brought my boy back. The only one of the cars to do something with themselves. They brought that boy out of the harbor, protect him, they did. There were 6 of my boys on the water on Banner Day, and 6 of my boys had their feet back on dry land. It be them that did it, and it be them that I say prayers to, and I no be apologizing to anyone.
Mm, I think that's
As she
respectable.
says this, you
Oh,
get the
okay, go ahead.
impression that she's switched the way that she's talking. I don't know if I did a great job of it, but when she does, there is this effort of previously she sounded more like she was speaking in common. Although now that you're paying attention to it, you're pretty sure she was speaking in giant the whole time. You just happen to be understanding her. And now when she's sort of agitated about it, the sort of giant features, the native giant tongue in her comes out a lot stronger. There is this sort of pride and defensiveness that comes when you talk about the shrine.
I I was there. Uh, I saw it, and I know what you say is true. Um, but I think I'm here to talk to you because I'm a little lost and I need help. And I don't really know you, and I don't think you know me, but I think you might have something to say.
I always have something to say. Do be the smart ones that know what I be saying they should be listening to. But she kind of takes her hands off of the thing, and you can see she kind of is forcing her fingers open a little bit. The kind of claws to her are forcing her hands open a little bit further as she's setting the net aside. But if you be looking for a reading, not been reading the waves for many years, but might still have something left in me. Come, let old Mother Carr have a look at you. She gestures for you to come to her and sort of like kneel down so that she can get her hands. She's sort of forcing them open around either side of your face.
She's touching my face. Is that what you said?
She looks like she's
Or
she's
what
gesturing
would
for
be
you
my
to come
face?
towards her.
Oh, okay. Sure.
So as you walk over there, she and you do you kneel down? Because you don't have to
She
do that.
thinks she thinks the because yeah, my head but I can see the image, right?
Yeah.
Then yeah, I think I would be smart enough to do that.
So you kneel down in the image, although it basically lines up the image that's around you's face with your face. And as she leans forward and as she goes and puts her hand on either side of your head, and you can see now that you're close to her, she's almost completely blind. She still can see a little bit, but there's heavy cataracts over her eyes. You're pretty certain that, you know, when she was looking around the room, if she was looking at things on the far side of the room, she was looking at what she remembered was there, not was actually like not what she was seeing. And as she places her hands on either side of your head, and you kind of touch her sort of old, gnarled flesh, two things happen immediately. The first thing is that sort of misty image around you evaporates. It just kind of goes away, and you feel like you are yourself standing there in front of her with this old woman's hands on either side of your head. The second thing that happens is you know who she is. Her name is Petsia Carr, and I'll type it in here. She is an old woman. She is has, as she had said previously, she had 5 children and then adopted a 6th, and has a huge family. And you can sense there is this feeling like threads, like she has a net of her own around her body of the family kind of holding her in place, kind of holding her together, or maybe her holding the family together in this sort of meshed way around her. And you get this sense of there being so many people tied up in this one old woman. And then when you get that sense, you also realize that she's dead. She died yesterday.
Well, that's sad.
So she does that. She looks up at you. Saints be fucked. You do be him.
I am me.
She glances, she's puts her hands on either side of your head. She doesn't move her hands, although she's not touching you. She's not like grabbing you. She's just lightly putting her hands on either side of your head. She looks over to the little shrine and then looks back to you. You be the captain, or the one that be bringing the faith, the one that be bringing the banner. She puts her hands back, and then she kind of folds them in her lap and says, if you be lost, then what do we be that follow you?
Who leads you is not important. It's how you work together with those who share your beliefs, and even those who don't, that makes us stronger, I think.
She nods. Sounds like sermoning. I've never been much for sermoning, but I'll do my best to be listening to your words. What be the raiser of the banner doing here? I had thought my Mulden had gotten in trouble when I saw someone here, but now I see it was you. What do be happening? Are you be telling me my boys aren't coming? I feel they be gone.
So, like, out of character, do you think it's appropriate to inform her of her fate?
That is a 100% in character thing. So you know that she's passed. Would your character decide to tell her or not? Or would he decide to act on that knowledge?
Okay. I don't think he would do it directly, but I think saying something like, give me a second. Can you repeat what she said at the end? She said, my boys are gone, or?
Yeah, she feels like her boys be not connected to her.
Hmm.
Like you're coming here, you're giving her this news. She's now thinking that it's about Mulden, it's about her favored boy, and that there's something wrong. And now that she knows that it's you and not just some random orc noble, now she's extra worried.
Hmm. As far as I know, your children are safe and sound, and they will be with you as long as you hold on to them.
That do be a thing that they be sermonizing about. You do be remembering people, so they always be with you and other such shit.
uh, I'm no good at this.
Is that
I think
you saying
we're
that it's Michael, or is that you saying that
as
it's Billy?
filibuster. That's filibuster saying that, and I would like to continue that. Be like, I think we're both learning in together.
Hmm. Well, if there be something I can help the hero of the banner, then tell me what it be. If you think my boys be fine, why did you come here? There can't be nothing you need from old Petsia.
Think I already told you why I'm here. I just wanted to be with you and listen to you and hear what you think should be said.
She takes a deep breath and then nestles herself down. It do be hard times. Even since there be banner day and we have life to be breathing, there still be things needing to be done. Lots of things needing to be done, and people that need to do them. I just be making and doing the things as I've been doing for past 70 years. It's a hard way to be sometimes, but there's good parts in it too. There be life here. Always been life around these parts, always loud. Not till things be getting really loud out in the harbor did things quiet down in here. And they be running here and there, finding all kinds of things to be getting into now. And sometimes they remember me, and sometimes they be coming back. And when they be coming back, they come back with their stories, and they be loud and around. Things can be cooked, but never enough. But that be my life. I'm not flying around on some great voyage. I'm not be the one coming and saving great peoples, not be the one pulling the sun's favored out of the fire and into where it was safe. My boy, my grandboy, it would be. Muleden has always been the best of our clutch, I guess you could be saying. The only one that could be smart as well as strong and rough. And he be serving us, and finding he be serving you. And I don't know if that be why you're here to talk to me. That be what you need to hear from me, but I be holding true to your faith, to be holding true to the idea that we be free, we be able to stand up against other things, that we be able to be our own, and that there's a whole world out there, even beyond the sea, that feels like it's the edge of things. I've never much been far for traveling far, but it do be something that others want. And when my children and grandchildren and their grandchildren come and be traveling, they always be coming back to old Lady Carr. They tell me they be talking about all the things, but all the things they be talking about would be simple to someone like you. They be common things, and you be saint. Bloods tell me. I'm speaking to a saint like you be coming for another nut. She kind of smiles and chuckles at herself, and when she does that, you see that same image, right? The younger woman, still older, like rather than being in her 80s or 90s, like the woman that you see, that she's in her 60s instead.
Hmm.
And if you if you let her, she will just sort of ramble on about her kids, about wanting to tell stories, about basically living her life, and you get this sense of loneliness. Like people don't really come to talk to her that much anymore. And just standing there and talking to her and letting her sort of talk about her family and about her life that she's lived and her children, that's bringing her some sort of comfort.
I'll let her go for as long as she wants.
So she'll go for a little while, and then after a moment, or after a while, a couple stories, she'll stop and then shake her head, say, "I be talking like this all day if you be letting me, and I know a saint's got more things to do. But if you be needing a net," she holds up the halfway, now maybe like three-quarters of the way completed net. "I be making ones that not be pretty, but they be sturdy."
uh, I Patsia, uh, thank you for sharing yourself with me. I think it's humbling to hear the effect that me and my crew have had on people like you.
She smiles, and you can see that she's missing almost all of her teeth when she gives a big grin. "It do be something that saints be doing, I guess."
But I think in many ways. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I wasn't gonna say anything. That's all she says.
I was gonna say, uh, but I think in many ways, you and I are very similar. Uh, I was stuck and alone. Uh, and you know, over time, have found those. I'm just gonna call them my crew to help support me and guide me forward. And I think people like you are what help make the world beautiful.
So she kind of snorts at that and goes, "And now you be telling me that you only need a small donation and all the world will be beautiful still."
Uh, you think someone dressed in these threads needs money?
She doesn't laugh at that. She just kind of arches one eyebrow.
Uh, yeah, I realize you can't see.
Yeah, she can't really see you.
No, I don't think there's anything I truly need from you other than your story. And all that I need from you is that you continue to be free. And I think you do a good job of that now, and come tomorrow we'll do even better.
She nods. "It be easy to be free if I have my own place, and I be having that. No matter what they be saying about moving things in the docks, my place will always be here. My place. Too many people be coming here. Too many people be coming from here for it to be moved anymore. But best be getting back to my nets if they're ever going to be done, and you best be off to freeing more people. I be hearing talk of breaking of chains and of some far off thing happening. They be saying that the city of Haven be the next hard home, the next place that be seeing a banner and having a banner day." You can see there's a little bit of question to that. Like she's heard it, but she's not really sure it's a thing. So here's the question.
Uh,
What do you want
yeah,
to do? You haven't told her that she's dead. She
I
seems
don't
like
want to
she's
tell her she's
content to
dead.
go back to doing what she's doing.
I don't know what else to do.
And that's what would Filibuster do? She seems like she's content to go back to making her net.
Uh, yeah. Petsia, is there anything you've ever wanted to do that you couldn't?
Boy, you be a saint, but you must be understanding. I've been on this earth 84 years. There be lots of things I'd wanting to be doing, especially in times where I be knee deep in snotty or shitty little boys. But I've gotten to do my fair share. And these be, she kind of gestures to her bare feet that are all kind of like gnarled, just like her hands. These be the feet that have worked a long time in a short place. They not be the feet that travel. And even if it was the feet that would travel, then when I get there, these not be the hands that look things and move things no more. And even if I do be having hands and feet, then any place I be going, any far off shore, that be a place that be lost on eyes of mine. And she kind of like taps the side of her face and shakes her head. Well, I be one that had good sight, but the world be darkening. I think the world will be darkening for good here soon.
And if you were able, and if I could give you one last, would you go with me?
She thinks about that for a moment. Is that what this do be? A saint be coming to me in my home and asking me for story of my life? You be coming to me and asking me if there was something I need be doing while still alive? Does that mean my time be coming soon? Does that mean this be my time?
If there's one thing that I've learned over the past, I don't know, 2 weeks maybe, it's that there are no true endings, only new beginnings.
She kind of leans back into her chair for a minute and takes a deep breath and then says, there be a lot of things I could be asking for. A lot of things I've thought I could be doing that I never would be getting done. But the one thing I always wanted to be seeing was one of the car boys making something of himself. Muleden got his command not two, no, maybe it'd be 3 year ago. And he be commanding a little vessel, something light, something that those be higher up be sneering at, but a car boy commanding a ship, that do be something. That do be something that will live on past me, even and past him. Do be something that we've done. That be something I wanted, and something you've already been doing for me. You brought him to safety. The sun's favored, it be out, out with the dauntless that was lost, brought back, and the things, the levies in the ocean, they be hot in the heels, and then you come and, well, I know we'll be telling a saint about Banner Day, but it do be something that is already done, not something need be done. But if you be saying this is the end of one thing and the beginning of something else, then I do be having one ask. And you see she sort of like bites her lip at that. And then she kind of looks down and then she looks back up and you can see the sort of scowl on her face. like she's hardening her expression. Her eyes get a little bit harder, like she's trying to focus on you, but there's also this resignation to her face, like someone who's been told bad news a lot or been told that something won't work and is about to be told that again. But when she does it, there is a change. Where she's sitting, there is another woman. And this time it isn't another old woman. This woman isn't 60 years old. She might not even make it to 20. She's young with long, curly brown hair. You can see there's a garland of simple flowers that is over her head. Around her neck looks to be layers of several necklaces that probably in richer families would be made of gemstones or jewels or precious metals, but for her, they're mostly either other flowers or there's pieces of colored glass and beads that are strung on the rings around her neck. A simple dress, something that might seem like a sundress to others, something to go out into the market with, but this looks different, special, simply made, but well made and well cared for. She looks exuberant, hopeful. And when the younger woman inside of the older woman looks at you, you can see there's expectation and hope. She is about to ask a question, and there's something about her that knows the answer, but doesn't want to believe it. And another part about her that hopes the answer is different and wants that thing to be true. And she says, I be doing a lot of things, and I not be thinking much about what be happening after. Truth be told, I not be listening much to the stories of the saints. When I was a little girl, I thought it was pointless to be thinking like that. But over the years, when I do be thinking about what be next, it's not a daydream. It's not going to be a dream of endless clear skies, no calm waters in my mind. It do be not a place, but it be a person. You be taking me on, would you be taking me to wherever with Philip? He he passed, he did, a good bit before Banner Day. But 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 you'd like him. He be kind, he be gentle, he be someone who would do the feeling of free better. He be one that wasn't strong with rules. He be a soft hand. He be one who would serve you, serve it, serve whatever well. He be a good worker, a good believer. If it be the next step, I'd want to be taking it with him, or want to be taking it to him. And if I need to be taking the next step with you, maybe you could reach out, be finding him. He'd be a good fit, methinks.
Out of character, I would assume that if prior to the Battle of Hardhome, that most people who lived at Hardhome believed in the Lugos as their god,
Not
kind
as their
of.
god. There are definitely people that would make sacrifices to the Lugosi, but they don't. It's more like she's using saints. It's kind of more like the Christian idea of like patron saints more than anything
Yeah, just
else.
like interchangeable religious figures, kind of.
Somewhat, but it's like rather than having the idea of like, oh, there's a god and we worship the god and then there's other things, it's more like they exclusively worship like a patron saint, right? Where like a patron saint of an area or patron saint of an idea is something that is the way that Hardhome tends to recognize things.
Mm-hmm.
And when she says the name of the person, that sort of weird feeling of her life, you know Philip Carr is her husband, the one that she was talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm. I'm not even certain where I would start to look, but I will look.
So you see the two different faces have two different reactions. The old woman's face, the scowl deepens slightly. You can see it nod slightly, as if taking that as a no, as a way to say no without saying it. But the younger face, the more hopeful face inside, the one that looks like what Petsia must have looked like on her wedding day, gives you a brief, brilliant smile before fading back into looking like the old woman. What do you want to do now?
Can I just hold my hand up?
Yeah?
Just like I am expecting her to also hold my hand.
She'll
She's
reach up and hold your hand. Although it's a little awkward because, again, she has her hands don't hold things very well.
and she's blind.
She's not blind. She can see you.
Oh,
She just can't see you
okay.
very well.
I'm gonna ask again. Will you come with me?
She nods and then sort of creaks to her feet and then goes to follow you.
Okay, I walk out.
So you walk out, she shuffles out behind you. You get to the edge of the cottage. And then when you step off the little sort of puddle of light that's around where her house is, and you see the old woman go to follow you, there is sort of a shimmer around the edge of this place. And the door goes from being open to being shut. It doesn't slam shut, it doesn't actually feel like it shuts, it just goes from being wide open to then like a second, an instant later being just shut. The woman vanishes, and that sound of lapping water comes back again, and the sense that things have been placed where they were fills you. Like you drew her to the edge of her place, and when you tried to take her from it, it just sort of returned her. And you know on a certain level that if you went and you knocked on the door and you walked into the house, that the old woman would be in the shack in the back making her net. So, standing on the ground level just outside the dock at her house, you can see around you there's just this expanse of darkness and mist. And as you kind of look at the house and you see it sort of reset back to the way that it was when you first walked in, you feel that there is sort of a solidity to this place. Like it is a place that is now more real now that you've stepped into it. And when you get that sensation, there is this sense of something behind you, of something looming over top of you in the darkness beyond.
In a bad way. Use
In
the
a
word loom.
in an intimidating way, but not necessarily like a hostile way. Like it feels like something really big is standing behind you looking down at you.
Can I? If I turn and look, is there something to see?
There's a huge stone black door that definitely was not there when you walked in.
And it's all black.
Yeah, it's all black. It's actually nearly impossible to see from above because it's shrouded, like all the sides of it are misty, and you can see that it kind of looks like some of that mist is flowing out from the door or through the door. But the door itself, like flowing around the edges of the door itself looks solid, like the mist looks very extra solid. And none of the mist flows through the door itself, not like it's, as you used the term earlier, it's not clipping through the door, but it's flowing around the door. It's flowing out the hinges, flowing out the keyhole where it looks like there would be a heavy lock. But there is this maybe 10 foot tall, giant black stone door that is billowing mist behind you. When
And
you turn,
this is when when I'm facing the house and I turn around, it's just there.
yep.
Sick. I'm gonna do it again. I'm just gonna say hello.
Nothing happens. And you don't get that sense of caring through this door. When you say hello, there is sort of a hollow echo back from the door. Like when you said something with intention that it hit the door and then just rebounded off of it.
I will walk towards the door.
You walk towards the door, you're now
And
standing in
I
front
will
of it. So you
touch the
see,
door. Oh, go ahead.
you can see that where there would be a handle, there is something that's there, but it doesn't look like a door handle. It does look like a handle, but it's curved and it's kind of covered in little spikes. It looks like some sort of like horn or bone. Um, if I say like a up down door handle on like a gymnasium door, do you know what I mean? Where it's like a single bar.
Yes.
Imagine that, but it's like a horn growing out of the door. So it's not touching on the top; it's only touching on the bottom and growing up out of the door.
That's goofy.
And while the door is enormous, the horn looks like it is at a height that would be a normal height for you to touch.
I will grab it.
Okay, you grab the horn.
Does
It
nothing
feels like
happen?
there's a mechanism here of some kind. Do you
What
want
do you
to
mean by
like
mechanism?
the door feels like it is the handle doesn't feel like it's just one piece with the door. Like the handle is resting in something and it moves very slightly when you touch it. Like you could pull on the handle and have it do something, or push on the handle or move the handle in some way. It does feel like the handle is designed to be movable, independent from the door.
That seems odd. Uh, can I don't really want to guess. What if I, rather than touching the handle, just touch the door and push?
So you touch the door, you push, and it gives the sense of something that's very, very solid. You can also tell, I would say, by the design of this door that it doesn't look like an inwardly opening door. Like the handles, the way they are, it looks like it opens out towards you.
Oh, should have
But I would
tried
say rather than trying to
that.
push open the door, it was more like you would touch it to feel how solid the door is. Like it feels immovable.
Sure. Okay. Uh, I will grab the door and I
Okay.
will, since I know that it's going to open towards me, I would like to attempt to pull it.
Okay. So you grab the horn, you pull very slightly, and you hear a mechanism opening, and you hear a very slight creak as the door very smoothly slides open. It doesn't move quickly, but it does move very smoothly open, and it's very easy to get out of the way so it doesn't like hit you as you open up the door. And the door opens up, and you get this sort of wash of mist. Like there was a buildup of mist behind the door. When you open it, it sort of flows out and around your body, and you see that there is a tunnel going down. There's stairs leading down into below, and there is sort of a faint, kind of whitish, like hazy light. Sort of think of like what it looks like when you see someone who has their high beams on going through a fog bank, where it's like backlit fog. That's what it looks like is in front of you. That there's a stairway and there is this backlighting on this big fog bank in front of you.
What color is the light?
It's white, sort of like white gray.
Distinctly not gold.
Distinctly not gold or green or one of the other miscellaneous colors that usually signify things.
Okay. Uh, and again, do I feel anything? Does it feel welcoming, or do I feel?
The door seems foreboding where it is, and when you try to sort of push your senses out past the door, it doesn't like you don't sense anything past the door. It doesn't feel like there's anything in this passageway, but the area around you feels comfortable. The door itself feels a little intimidating, and the hallway doesn't feel like anything other than, it's kind of weird to feel like you're going to be stepping into this mist, this like
Mhm.
semi-solid mist to go down it at all. That's mysterious, but it's not really intimidating, or it doesn't have like any sort of feel of magic or something like that.
And the light isn't welcoming or anything.
No, it looks very bland, I guess is the best way to say it. Looks
Mm.
plain.
Well, down we go.
So when you step into the first step, you get the impression of being somewhere else. Like where you were previously was that place that you had been, that sort of weird dimension where you had met the former uh, old woman Carr. And after you had stepped into this hallway, it feels like you're not there, like you're someplace else, but it's hard to place where you are, and it feels very sterile. It doesn't feel like there's any life to this place. It kind of feels like the opposite of Widow Carr's place, where there was this vibrancy to everything. Here, it feels like everything is plain, is rigid, is Spartan. And as you step down and you a couple more steps, the mist starts to part around you, and you see at the bottom of the steps. It's only about 10 steps down. You see it opens up into a little uh, sort of well lit office. And there's a sort of a bright white light shining down from above, sort of like fluorescent lights. And in the middle of the office, there is a heavy stone desk that looks like it's the same type of stone that the door was made out of. Um, and there is a couple of stacks of what look to be parchment on the desk at the bottom of the stairs.
There's no one here.
There isn't, but you can tell that the room is definitely bigger than what you can see from the stairway. Like you'd have to go into the room to see the rest of it because you're kind of looking down, right?
Got it. Uh, then I would enter the room, I suppose.
So you step into the room, and as soon as you step into the room, you see the light sort of brighten slightly. You can tell that the mist is kind of going further and further to the edges of the room, almost like the mist is being pushed against the walls. And you see a man step out of the mist. Of course, the reveal tool is going to break when I need it. Why would I
What's new?
do anything else?
Ah, look where it is.
So, you know who this is. He turns towards you, and you can see there's a weird sort of slickness. Like his body is still looks like this, has the heavy horns, which now that you can see him and you can think about the door that you just opened, the horns on the door look like his horns. And there is this sort of strange sheen over him, kind of like a snake that's just shed its skin. And the man steps forward. You hear this kind of very faint clopping sound on the ground, and he bows and he says, "Ah, welcome, good sir. I believe it is past time that you file your appropriate paperwork, but do not fret, I have everything sorted for you. Is there anyone else that is going to be coming with you, or is that going to be something you're dealing with later, my good sir?"
What? Michael kind of understands, but I don't think filibuster does.
Ah, you are a new official account holder, the first in a significant amount of time, and the paperwork needs to be in order for you to have the amenities afforded to you by being account holder at the vault.
And how long will this paperwork take?
It shouldn't take more than a few moments. I've already filled out everything that needs to be filled out. I merely need your agreeing and signing of certain paperworks and lines. Of course, because you have created this demons, you will be allowed entrance and exit as you so see fit. And if there are any connections that you wish to make with other domains, you can do so at your leisure. Although there are certain proprieties that normally come into play, there is, well, I guess I should say, very little demand for my services as of late, so you should be able to get what you need quite quickly.
Hmm. I see. Uh, it, just real quick, can you look up a file for me?
Of course,
I'm looking for a Philip Carr.
he says, in what respects would you be looking this up? It is not someone that is a resident of your domains. It is neither a impure nor purified soul that you have within your account.
I'm aware. I was wondering if you could give me any info on that, or is that against the rules?
There's nothing against the rules about this. If there is a particular soul that you are interested in finding, I would be able to locate it. But there are difficulties if you need a name rather than having a name associated with the account, if you undertake my meaning.
I I catch the drift.
Yes, if you have identifying characteristics, connected soul would be easiest. Spell signatures can work as well. There are many different things that can be used to locate such things. However, if I am able to locate it within the vaults, my ability to locate it would merely be done as such to alert you to the presence of the soul in question, and I would be able to return to you whether the soul has remained in its impure state or if it has been properly purified, and which account it is currently held under. But any additional details would not be something I would be able to guarantee to provide to you.
Sure. I'm all new to this, but I think I have someone who's connected. In fact, I think they're in my bank account soon to be.
Very well. The individual soul, the impurity that you are currently speaking with, I believe that is likely to be the course of your connection.
Yes. Just to clarify, w- when you say impure and pure, what does that imply?
He takes a couple steps forward and then he kind of pushes away a couple of pieces of paper and gets to a piece of paper down at the bottom and says, this is something that is slightly more pressing of a matter, but the impure souls are ones that retain a piece of themselves. The impure souls are more connected with the individual life that they were lived in Suba'an or other places. These are souls that cannot be used because there's baggage assessed with them. You will be given the rights and abilities as an account holder to all souls that come to your domain to be able to keep them in their impure forms and allow them to do whatever they so wish with the memories of what they once were. However, if you are to use them in the vault system, use them as currency for others, they would need to have the identifying characteristics cleansed away from them and brought back into being pure energy in order to be properly assessed a weight and value.
And what happens to that sense of self?
That is removed. It is an impurity. It's something that taints the energy of the soul. Once that impurity is destroyed, then the soul can be used in its pure form for energies or can be exchanged for other souls within the vaults.
Sure. Yeah, this is a really good way to ruin a somber moment. Not that I really blame you. Uh, yeah. Anyways, let's. Is there any specific lines in this contract that I should be aware of?
So, taking was the ruining of a somber moment, was that meant for me or for him?
No, that was for him.
Okay, okay. And when you're asking me, are you gonna like read through the contract that he has out there?
I'm sure it's way too long.
So the
That's why
contract,
I'm asking.
yeah. So what basically he will say, well, the each of these contracts is one that is bound with intention. And given that it is something that is both treated and bound, nothing can be contained within that is not part of your treat. What I mean by this is that none of the effects of any signings of today will be put into effect until you are aware of them and until you will them to be. The articles can be signed now, but they won't be in effect until you understand and perceive them correctly.
Well, that's very pleasant.
It is a system that has caused a great deal of problems from not happening because miscommunications are difficult even when we are using a fairly universal form of language. Good sir, I would just need your signatures here, here, here. But these pieces here are not understandings, so to speak. These are decisions that need to be made. I switched for a second there into the wrong format. But he says, but yes, good sir, if you are looking to have a certain measure of souls cured or to be purified or left impure, basically he's going to kind of go through and explain that number one, there's a document that's basically asking you, do you want to leave all of the souls impurified? Do you want to purify every soul? Do you want to set some qualifications for if a soul enters the domain that you have or the dements that you have, X rules allows it to remain impure or X rules allow it to become purified, basically what the ratios are. What would Filibuster do with that?
Ericator, I don't know if this is a really common question, but it would it be possible to leave the decision up to the soul?
Ah, an eternity that is self-determining. That is something that can be provided, of course. That is an unusual series of qualifications, but not an impossible one. How would you like to go about the treating for that? There is some difficulties when explaining to mortals what immortal really means.
Nothing is simple, is it?
Of course. So, if anything was simple, then we would have nothing to do. I am here specifically as your representative, your official account manager at the bank. And if there is anything that you need, I will be able to take care of it for you. I do not have any other duties but to make sure that this demence is properly served.
Do you have any suggestions on how to handle this?
I can tell you what other account holders at the vault have done previously. However, it is not my place to have opinions. And if I am serving this particular demence for significant periods of time, I may eventually form opinions. However, I have not been created for long enough to fully form my opinions quite yet.
Okay. In that case, is are souls able to be like taught?
A soul can gain additional impurities after it is expired, yes.
So, in addition to my question of how to handle pure versus impure souls, is it possible to teach them the same way I'm being taught right now?
It could be done. I will make a records request from the vault and have them send over the methods that has been used in the past, my sir.
And if they want nothing to do with it, then to leave them impure, because that is likely what they would want.
Of course, as you say. This here is also for access to your account and to your original domain. What you choose to do with your domain and your dements is entirely up to you, and no account holder or account manager may enter into your dements or without your express approval is not quite the right word, but you must will it to be for any others to enter. And we, although we are connected to all, do not find ourselves to be proper servants if we make ourselves immune to this particular clause. However, we have the capacity to do so, and this is your waiver if you wish it to be done. Do you wish for members of the bank and, sorry, he says vault. Would you wish for members of the vault to be able to access your dements in case there is some sort of need, as in the instructions of explaining to them whether they wish to be pure or impure?
Sorry, the question was he's going to put my stuff in a little dimension, and that's going to be used for teaching them about if they want to be pure or impure, and he needs explicit permission to enter that place.
Yes. So basically, he's going to make you have a pocket, sort of, like a pocket plane, and he's saying, we know that it has permission to go in there, but if you want me to make a little hole, a little space within that area, we need permission to go into the domain, into the dements, to get into that little area. And this paperwork says we can only go into that area. We can't go into the main part.
Sure. Just not to bring up a touchy subject, but does this open up any security concerns?
We, the Vault, take security to be of the utmost importance, and we would not be creating such precautions such as this if we did not believe it was at least somewhat relevant to security.
Uh, you know, it's probably I trust you. You seem like a trustworthy individual. Uh, let's do it.
So he nods, and then he would say, "Sir, I've been created to be one such." And he would give you the thing to sign. And then basically, he's just going to take you through a bunch of pieces of the accounts and giving you details about what this place is, how to get here. If there's anything that you need, explaining to you that, any of the hercators through any of the vaults, any of the accesses will all work. They're all connected together, but that this guy specifically is your copy that is specifically to your dements to be able to serve you for whatever your needs are. He's going to be the one to do it personally when he's here, when you're here. And then the last thing is going to be permission for enter into the account space, which is what he calls this little area that you're in right now, into your account space. If you want anyone else to have permission to come in, and then he's going to give you a tarnished coin. That is your key to be in here. And then he'll explain that you don't actually need the coin, but some people, some account holders have found it good to have a token that they can give to someone else in their stead should they need to appoint someone to go do something for them.
And can access be revoked at any time?
He says, but of course, the changing natures of things and the ability for time to change all peoples and things means that it should always be important for security to allow for access to be removed. There are certain security precautions for what must be done within the vaults if access is removed while they are within your, and he kind of gestures towards this little area. Those I would explain to you, good sir, that they are very final. They are designed to be what some mortals have called overkill.
What is he talking about?
Basically, you can remove permission for anyone to do things anytime or add permission whenever. But what he's saying is if someone who has permission to be here is currently inside of the vault or inside of your little section of the vault, and you remove permission, the way that they remove permission is to destroy that person.
Okay.
So
this is my backup for when Morin betrays us. So
he's letting you know that if you do revoke permission for someone to be in the vault, if you don't want them to be destroyed, you should do that when they're not inside of the vault.
Okay.
So he will give you the coin and basically say that you can use this as a token, and you can use this to allow other people, if they hold it, to gain access to your account at the vault.
Sure. I appreciate it.
So goes through the paperwork. All the paperwork is pretty simple. It's basically just explaining that, most of what I've said. And then once it's all signed and done, he'll give you a gigantic stack of legalese to read through if you ever feel like it, if you're ever bored. Basically a small book of paperwork of the contract. And then he'll, straighten up and say, well, thank you, good sir. I do appreciate us being able to handle this in a prompt fashion. Is there anything of a pressing matter that you wish for the vaults or for myself to resolve for you?
Do you remember that thing we talked about like 3 minutes ago?
Yes, the request will be filed. Anything other than that, it will.
Oh, it's not instantaneous.
No, I'm sorry. There are channels that need to be reopened that would normally have functioned. There used to be a link between each of these dimensions that was a central hub for organization that we used to use for official requests between the account holders. That hub has since fallen into disrepair, and we have other methods for communicating with one another, but they will need to be done, and it will take some time. I do not believe it would take longer than... He thinks about it for a moment. It would take probably about 10 to 12 seals in order to guarantee the information that you requested.
I find that perfectly acceptable. How will I receive this information? Also, are inquiries like this shared with the other account holder?
Yes, inquiries such as this would be shared with the targeted account.
And the source account is identified as well?
Yes, it is considered to be improper to have hidden account holders or account holder requests.
Would you mind if I held off for a bit? Actually, I might come back to this.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll let you know. Is there an easy way to? Do you have a phone number or anything?
You can always access this through your dements. And if you look for more specific things, any of our vault access points can be used. Basically, you need to go back to the black door that you came in here on, or any of the other vaults. You need to physically go there in order to contact him.
Got it. But I can technically do that anywhere.
Yeah.
Just like I'm now. Okay.
Yeah, it just took you a long time to do it, but you might be able to do it faster in the future now that you know what you're doing.
Thank you, Hirkator. I think this will be a wonderful relationship.
He nods, doesn't seem to have really much of an expression other than just being sort of that kind of polite butler. And he says, if there would not be anything else, you are, of course, welcome to the amenities, but they are not yet fully formed. If there's anything in particular that you would be needing, of course, I would be able to provide it for you, good sir.
I think I'm okay for now.
So he nods, and then you see him go, and he stands next to the desk, and the desk sort of grows to be the normal size for him to do things. And you see him shuffle through paperwork and start to kind of slowly pull paperwork out of the desk and start to continue to write on it. Although when he's writing, you can see he's just using one of his fingers. It's kind of hard to see in the picture, but he has like pens almost that grow from
Yeah,
his fingertips.
I see the odd little needles.
Yes.
So I can just leave.
Usually.
I got nothing, no business here.
So you head back up the stairs. The doors shut behind you. They are kind of smooth and mostly quiet. And then you're back at the ground level. You see the city around you. In front of you is that very solid-looking cottage, the house inside of your demesne of Petsia Carr. And then around you see bits and pieces of what you can now recognize are probably hard home of different little spots of light, little pinpoints of faith. And when you look at each one of them, now knowing what the one that you went to is, you can see that each of them are souls that have passed on that had faith in your church. These are all people that were servants of the faith or were believers that have passed on. But the little pinpoints of light that are around, some of them are bright, some of them are not very bright. There's a range, right, between belief that these people had. And Petsia looks like she was probably your most devoted follower, the one who believed the most, whose whole heart and soul was in this idea of Banner Day and of the saint that rose the banner of freedom and saved her grandchild. As you're kind of looking around and seeing this, you can kind of feel awkwardly someone touching you on your shoulder and pulling you away from this place and back aboard the Superstition's End. And that's where we'll end the vignette.